For the past 4 years, I've been eating one meal a day. My main meal, my only meal, is always dinner. So throughout the day, I water fast, might have some coffee, um, and then I eat my only large meal at night. There are exceptions to this rule when I'm crazy physically active. I might have some fruit, I might have an apple or two during the day to hold me over. But for the most part, during these last 4 years, I've eaten once a day at night. And one of the most common questions I get is, how do you eat enough protein while reducing your diet to a single meal eaten late in the day? First things first, I've come to realize that this one meal a day diet is the ultimate human performance diet. In my understanding, this is the way we're supposed to eat. I've tried everything, any diet you can think of, any macro program, any fitness program you can think of. I haven't found anything to work remotely as well as this. So, if you want to have higher energy, if you want to have better mental clarity, if you want to be more productive throughout your days, if you want to effortlessly lose body fat and maintain it while eating what you want and as much as you want, you might want to give this a shot. This, again, as far as I'm concerned, is the ultimate. I've never been stronger. I've never been leaner with less effort. I've never enjoyed my diet, my program as much as I do now since starting to eat one meal a day. How do I get my protein in? Very simple. I do not care about protein intake. When I sit down to eat at the end of the day, what I care about is eating what I want and eating enough. So I eat what I want in the amounts that I want. I don't concern myself with numbers. I don't concern myself with a certain macro split. I eat to satiety. Whatever my body craves, that's what we're gonna have that day. So my protein intake varies greatly from day to day. Some days it will be lower, some days it will be much higher. In the past, specifically this last year of bulking, quote unquote bulking, I've experimented with very high intakes of protein. We're talking 200, 250 grams of protein eaten every single day. I would split that up between two meals for the most part, but after doing that for months on end, I can tell you I did not see any benefit to eating a very high protein diet. Now, these days, my protein falls anywhere between 100 to 130 grams per day. Some days it's much lower than that. And again, some days I might go to a barbecue. There's like this Brazilian steakhouse here very close to my house where they serve all you can eat meat, chicken, um, just animal protein till you keel over and pass out. And on those days, if I go to a place like that, obviously my protein intake will surpass the 200, 250, probably the 300 gram mark. But in no way am I condoning you follow a certain macro split or you try and get a certain number, a certain grammage of protein in every single day. For me personally, when I tell you I eat between 100 to 130 grams of protein every day, that's because I eat upwards of 3,000 calories a day. So it's easy for me to get at least 100 grams of protein in every single day. It comes natural just by eating whole foods, just by eating as much as I crave, as much as I want to eat. That's where I end up being at the end of the night. So whenever I pushed the protein intake higher, let's say 30% of my total calories. Let's say 150 plus, 200 plus grams of protein a day. I never saw better results in the gym. My muscles didn't recover faster. Um, I didn't grow bigger. I didn't grow stronger. The only thing it did truly for me was make my diet less enjoyable. I love meat. I love eggs. I love dairy products. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to restrict myself to only those foods. I don't want to eat a carnivore. I don't want to eat a keto diet or some other BS diet. I want to eat the foods that my body naturally craves, that I'm naturally drawn to. And yes, meat, chicken, fish, eggs, and dairy products are part of that, but it's not exclusively those things. So anytime I have to go that high in protein or I'm trying to go that high in protein, I find myself not enjoying these meals as much. So I don't force myself. I don't force feed protein. For me to eat, like I said, a minimal amount of 100 grams per day, 120, 130 grams per day, it comes natural just by eating the foods that God put on this earth for us to eat. I don't have to force feed. I don't have to follow a particular diet. And what prolonged fasting and intermittent fasting, similar to this style of eating, will teach you is that your body will naturally crave the foods that it requires. You will have an appetite for the things that your body actually needs the most. And you will understand that yes, protein is high up there on your list of priorities. For your body, it is the most important macronutrient. It is the primary macronutrient. However, it's certainly not the only macronutrient that you need, and certainly not a macronutrient or not a food group that you have to go crazy with. I have to chuckle every time I watch these full day of eating carnivore videos on social media or keto eating on social media. It's so bland, it's so repetitive, it's so mind numbing. It is the last thing on earth I would want to do. Um, and even like typical bodybuilding style diets where you eat a large amount of lean meats and a large amount of starchy carbohydrates never worked well for me. I need a good amount of fat in my diet, a good amount of starch, carbohydrates, and a good amount of protein. My body works best on a balanced macronutrient intake, if you will. Going crazy high with either one of the macros never worked for me, and it will not work for you long term. So, again, don't eat all day. Don't eat multiple meals. Don't eat every couple hours. Um, don't keep your belly filled all day thinking that this is what you need to do in order to build muscle or to perform at a high level. You will realize that you will perform at your highest level on empty. You will be your strongest mentally and physically on empty. That's right. If you make sure to eat enough when you do eat. So for me, like I told you, I do not diet. I do not restrict my calories. I eat a lot, upwards of 3,000 calories on most days. Now, as you guys also know, I like to do prolonged fasting on a regular basis. I like to throw in some extremely low calorie days occasionally, but this is not my default. My default is always a high calorie intake. Now, once you do this, the OMAD diet in particular, eating one meal a day, you will have a better understanding of what your body requires. And then the following day, you can actually gauge if the meal that you ate the night before worked, if the macros were on point, if there's something lacking. This is the best barometer to figure out what your preferred fuel sources, what your preferred food sources are for maximum performance. I'm talking cognitive, I'm talking physical. For instance, when I eat a low fat, high carb, high protein diet, I run out of steam very early the following day. I run out of steam. There's no energy left in my body. If I, however, go very high in fats, low in carbs, and again high in proteins, I might be able to sustain my performance longer, but I'm never able to reach max performance because I need more carbohydrates to get there. So again, I do not restrict any macro group. I do not go crazy high with any macronutrient in my diet. And I found this to work the best, whether it's my gym performance, whether it's my work performance, whether it's my mood and energy levels throughout the day. All these things matter, and all these things are ultimately what brought me to eating one meal a day. I want to feel great. I want to have high energy. I want to have high cognitive function. I want to be able to perform from the moment I wake up in the morning to the moment I lay my head down at night. I want to be on. And I find that whenever I eat bigger meals throughout the day, I lose that edge. It's not like I can't do it. Oh my God, I feel so terrible. I got to go to sleep. No, I just lose that crispness, that sharpness, that edge. And it takes away a lot of pleasure from my day-to-day existence. It also takes away a lot of pleasure from eating. So, if I restrict my diet, if I restrict my food intake throughout the day, my nightly meals are incredibly rewarding. When I sit down to eat at night, all bets are off. It's a party every night. I get to eat the stuff that I want to eat in the amounts that I want to eat. I don't have to restrict myself in any way anymore because I already did the restriction leading up to the meal. And I can stay lean. I can stay in the shape that I want to be in effortlessly. And then the following day, I can perform to a degree. I can perform to the standards that I have for myself. And ultimately, this is what it boils down to. I have high standards. And eating this way allows me to maintain those standards for myself. Again, physical, work-related, relational, spiritual, financial, all those standards are high. OMAD actually helps me get closer to those standards, get closer to my ultimate goals. Now, to go back to the protein intake, if you're somebody who wants to experiment with OMAD dieting, you might be new to this. You might not have a big appetite. Don't worry about it. Eat less protein for a couple days. Allow your body to find its own rhythm. Allow it to adjust to this new routine of eating. And what you will understand, what you will learn over time is as you become more aware of the signals that your body is sending you, as you become more aware of the stuff that your body needs to thrive and function close to 100%, it will demand more protein. So after going low protein, perhaps for a couple weeks, couple days, your body will automatically crave more animal products. It will crave a steak. It will crave some chicken. It will crave some eggs and some dairy products. And that's when you naturally find your cycle, my brothers and sisters. It's not trying to hit a certain macro number every single day. I told you guys in the past, this has no connection to reality. At no point in human history did we eat the same amount of food and the same macros every single day. It makes no sense whatsoever. Some days you're going to need more carbs to drive up insulin, drive down cortisol, to help you recover from your stressors at work, to help you recover from your workouts, to help you sleep and unwind at night. Some days you're going to need more fats to fuel hormone production, fuel other cellular processes, and some days you're gonna require more protein. Again, muscular recovery, enzymatic processes in the body, stuff that requires more protein. Your body's gonna ask for it. That's the beautiful thing. You don't even have to force a certain diet on you anymore, but it does require, you do have to start listening to your body. You do have to start taking note of your day-to-day performance, cognitive and physical. Log your workouts. Monitor the way you feel throughout your days. You should feel great. Listen to me. You should feel great for the majority of your time. The bulk of your days, you should have good mood and high, stable energy levels. You shouldn't be anxious. You shouldn't be miserable. You shouldn't be low energy consistently. Going through those phases, it's perfectly fine. Everybody does. But your day-to-day should be blissful, my brother, my sister watching this. Your day-to-day should be blissful. You should have all the energy you need to do the things that you have to do. Certainly more than enough energy to go into the gym and kill it day after day, week after week. You shouldn't feel deprived, low energy, eating foods that you don't really enjoy eating, but you feel like you have to because somebody told you they're healthy. That's a miserable existence. Certainly not one that I want for myself or for my team members. So again, if you're doing intermittent fasting, if you're doing the 1 meal a day diet like yours truly, eat to your heart's content at the end of the day. Allow yourself to eat as much as you want of the right foods. When I say right foods, brother, I'm not talking about, oh, don't eat carbs, don't eat fats. I'm talking right foods in the sense that the majority of your diet, the bulk of your calorie intake should be minimally processed, earth-grown, real foods. Shouldn't be stuff that comes in a box, in a wrapper, or that is door dashed to your home. Most of the stuff that you eat, I would say around 70-80% of the foods that you consume should be minimally processed. You will develop a taste for simple meals when you're doing a lot of fasting. Your body will be so happy when you feed it proper nutrition after long stretches of not eating. You will learn to crave fruits and vegetables. You will learn to crave animal products, meat, chicken, fish, eggs, dairy. You will learn to crave grains like oats, even some bread, some pasta, some rice. You will need these things to function at a high level on a day-to-day basis. You will not, however, need to go crazy high with any macronutrient, be that protein, carbs, or fats. You're gonna function best, and you will learn this for yourself over time, by having a balanced intake of all macronutrients. So again, can you get enough protein on 1 meal a day? 100%. I've done it. Many of my clients do it. I know it's possible. You will develop just the right appetite for your individual needs by following this diet. I truly believe that going through long stretches of not eating and then eating to satisfaction is the ultimate human performance diet. This is the way our bodies work best. Our bodies do not work best when you feed it small meals at a frequent rate or at a high interval. High frequency meals. Doesn't work. Never worked. Supposed experts will tell you that this is how athletes eat, and they might, but they would be better off eating fewer but bigger meals. Suppose that experts tell you that this is how you need to eat to keep your blood sugar stable. We now have the research, the science to call them out on it. It's BS. There's no facts behind it. Your body will auto regulate. When your body is healthy, you're physically active, you're getting sunlight exposure, you're sleeping properly, you're training intensely, and you're eating properly, your body will naturally auto-regulate. You won't be hungry every 2 to 3 hours unless you're conditioning, you're forcing your body to eat every 2 to 3 hours. And then when you do eat, you have the freedom, you have the liberty to eat way more. You can eat way more than the average. You're going to be leaner. You're going to look better. You're going to perform better. You're going to be so much more stable. This is one of the biggest factors when it comes to intermittent fasting, but specifically the 1 meal a day diet. You will be so much more stable. When we're talking mental energy levels, it's not even funny. There's no ups and downs. You're just there. You're just functioning. You're just performing, but at a higher level than you did before. Without the crashes, without the massive lows, without the massive highs either, but you don't need them. You will feel massively high. I should mention that when you then sit down to eat. The reward sensation that you get from food after fasting is unmatched. The pleasure sensation that you get from eating after fasting is unmatched. You should try it. You should experience it. Hello, I'm currently eating OMAD 1,500 calories for 6 days and a lot on day 7. My weight only goes down. Perfect for me. Thanks for the idea. Yeah, my brother, this is hardcore. I mean, depending on your activity levels and your weight and your size, 1,500 calories is hardcore. This is how low I would go on maybe 2-3 days personally if I really want to cut body fat. But the general idea is phenomenal. So this is not something that I would do long term, but like short term to cut fat aggressively, hey, it works, certainly. I would recommend you bump those calories up a little bit every day and still have 1 day a week where you go very high. You know, like stay in a deficit for the bulk of the week, and then maybe 1 or 2 days of the week go higher in calories. But the idea is correct. Why am I saying this? The idea is correct because it is a cyclical approach to eating. I am not a friend of eating the same calories day in, day out. I am a big fan of going very low on occasion and going very high on occasion with your calories. How do you do that on OMAD? Very simple. Very low is you would just restrict yourself to some protein and veggies at the end of the day. Very high, you could try a couple days where you eat multiple meals a day. Personally, I have a bottomless pit for a stomach. I am a bottomless pit. So I can easily put away 4,000 calories at the end of the day. However, I find that if I go that high or even higher, my sleep quality does suffer a little bit. So instead of just forcing myself to eat more, although in my case, it's not even forcing myself, instead of going crazy high at night, I would just have like a lunch, a big lunch, and a big dinner. And that would be like a very high calorie day for me. You could try something similar. But in any event, brothers and sisters, more important than your protein intake, this is regardless of your goals, whether that's fat loss, muscle gain, maximum athletic performance. More important than your protein intake is your overall calorie intake. It's far more important. This is why I can get away with eating 100 grams to 120, 30 grams of protein a day, as opposed to, eating the 160 plus grams a day, which experts would recommend. What I mean by that, the general guideline for protein intake that you hear in the health and fitness community is to eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. That's around 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. That's 165, 170 plus grams in my case. I don't enjoy eating that much protein. Like I said, it doesn't serve me, it doesn't do anything for me. I'm a far cry away from that intake. I recommend for my team members, for you guys watching this, I recommend an intake of about zero 0.6 to 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. However, what I really recommend is you don't worry about these details. This is just for the anal folks out there who really want to have control and an overview of everything that goes inside their bodies. I can certainly appreciate that because that's who I am, truly. But more and more am I teaching myself to just eat to satiety, eat the things that I want in the amounts that I want, and not try and micromanage my diet. Many years I've wasted micromanaging every single element of my diet: macros, calorie intake, meal timing, food groups that I would allow myself to eat or not eat. It didn't produce favorable results. I'll just leave it at that. It didn't serve me in any way. Sure, I might have learned a thing or two along the way, but in terms of helping me with performance, in terms of helping me get leaner or get more muscular or get stronger, it didn't serve me. What did ultimately serve me more than anything was to restrict when I ate, and then to cycle that with periods of compensation. Restriction followed by compensation. And when I speak of compensation, I mean it, brothers. I'm talking about eating as much as you want, eating to your heart's content, and doing that on a regular basis. If you have a lot of extra body fat on you, this might not work for you. You will have to employ some additional restriction. But that restriction should be in the form of calories, not necessarily macronutrients. So let's say you have 20 pounds to lose. I'm not going to tell you, hey, eat a low carb, high protein diet to lose those 20 pounds. No, I'm going to tell you, incorporate some prolonged fasting into your routine. And then for the rest of the week, you still eat to your heart's content. That might be 2 meals a day. That might be a single meal a day. Regardless, you eat as much as your body is calling you, is driving you to eat. You basically eat to appetite. And that is the ultimate, brothers. That is the ultimate. That's where you want to be, while cycling in low calorie days, while occasionally cycling in high calorie days. You're never going to find that sweet spot when you're chronically restricting, when you're following a diet that you do not really enjoy, when you're following a meal pattern, a meal strategy that you do not really enjoy. So if eating 1 meal a day is not something you enjoy, then find something else. By all means, this isn't for you. I was always drawn to this approach to eating. I started this when I was in my mid-20s. I was about 24 years old when I first started OMAD dieting, eating 1 meal a day. In particular, it was the Warrior Diet, which I recommend you read. That's it, brothers. Crazy high protein, not necessary. Find that sweet spot in calories, number one. You got to eat enough. You got to make sure that you compensate for your efforts every day or most days. Yes, it's perfectly fine to go very low calorie on occasion, to do A longer fast, a 2 day fast here and there, a 3 day fast here and there. That's fine. But for the most part, you want to eat to satiety. You want to eat as much as your body requires. And you want to eat the foods that you want to eat, the meals that you actually enjoy eating. I love to go out and eat. One of the highlights of my day is always my dinner with my wife. We like to go out to eat. We also like to stay in and cook. We actually prefer the latter. But when we go out to eat, no foods are off limits. We eat whatever we feel like eating. We order whatever we feel like ordering, and however much. You know, same with staying in and cooking at home. We eat whatever we want to eat, and we eat them in the amounts that we want to eat them. You see, my wife is not following a one meal a day diet. She's not eating once a day. Occasionally she is, but for the most part, it's 2 meals. It's a small lunch that she eats, or smaller, I should say, lunch that she eats, and her main meal is always dinner with me, and that works very well for her. She's in phenomenal shape. Um, and she doesn't restrict her diet. For her to stay in this shape, she doesn't have to cut carbs. She doesn't have to restrict her fats. She doesn't have to follow a silly diet to get there. The only restriction that she's employing is when she's rolling out of bed first thing in the morning, she's not reaching for a meal right away. We got stuff to do. I got stuff to do. My wife's got stuff to do. So we wake up in the morning, we hydrate on water. I like to drink a cup or two of coffee. My wife doesn't, but she prepares her lunch and then she leaves for work, and I start my workday right away. I'm not concerned about what am I going to have for breakfast and for lunch and for snacks, and how am I going to make these macros, these set macros that I have on my plan. How am I going to get those in during my day? No, I don't care about any of that. I restrict myself, I fast, drink my water, drink some coffee. Occasionally, like I said, I eat some fruit to hold me over. I might drink a glass of kefir for the friendly gut bacteria and because I love the flavor. And that's it. We're talking like during the day, I might eat a maximum of 100 to 300 calories. But for the most part, over these last 4 years, it was 0 calories throughout the days, and then massive meal at dinner time. But again, if you're experimenting with something similar, do not concern yourself with your protein intake. Eat a variety of foods. Eat the foods that God put on this earth. Eat your meats, eat your eggs, drink some milk, eat some grains, some rice, eat some legumes, some beans, some lentils. Eat your fruits and vegetables. Eat your salads. Eat everything. And don't think that you have to eat moderately to make this work. Listen to your body. Some days you'd be surprised at how much food your body's actually calling you to eat. Like I told you, I'm very physically active. Thus, when I do sit down at the end of the day, I have to eat a lot. I say I have to because if I don't, if I fail to compensate for my caloric needs, for my energy requirements, the following day I feel it in my bones, bro. I can't perform at the same rate. Now, occasionally I like to go very low in calories at the end of the day, so I do not compensate fully, but I do that strategically. That would be a day or two during the week, and those wouldn't be back-to-back days. I use those low calorie days strategically to keep my metabolism firing, to keep me mentally sharp. It just does something to you. Hunger, if you know how to control it, it does something to you. It's beautiful. Is there such a thing as too much steak? Uncle John, personally, I do think there is. Yeah, I I don't know if you're joking, but I do believe there is. Personally, if I eat too much steak, too much red meat in general, I don't feel that good. My bowel movements are not as smooth, and I do feel like my body is working overtime to break down and assimilate the red meat. So I love beef, I love steak, but I'm certainly never gonna do an all meat diet or a keto diet where I'm eating steak multiple meals a day. I don't think it's a good idea. Don't think we ever had such liberal access to meat and animal proteins. And I do believe, even though I'm a huge fan of protein and a huge fan of meat, I do believe that eating too much of that, you'll feel that it's not doing you it's not doing you a favor. Love you, brother, he says. Uncle John, I do appreciate you. God bless. Um, any like crazy diet, either crazy restrictive or any diet that doesn't make sense mentally, cognitively, is probably not a good idea. Now, initially, you might think that eating once a day doesn't make any sense. Specifically, eating those calories at night doesn't make any sense. But experience will teach you better. You do this the way that I prescribe, that you follow this routine, this diet, chances are you're not going to want to go back. I'm certainly never going back to multiple meals a day. Like I told you, occasionally I will eat a lunch and then my big dinner, but I never enjoy eating throughout the day. I never enjoy lunch. It doesn't do anything for me. Not in terms of pleasure, not in terms of performance, not in terms of muscle gain. So I'm going to be riding this sucker for life unless something better comes around. I'm also not, religious about it. If something better comes around, yeah, if I find something that works better than one meal a day, you'll be the first to know. You'll be the first to know. But for the time being, this is the ultimate for me. So here we have a question. Hi, Victor. Do you eat your one meal literally all at once, or do you divide it in, say, two portions? And you eat all within 1 to 2 hours? Okay, great question. So, yeah, when I say one meal a day, brother, it's not like literally one plate of food. It's like 2 to 3 meals, the equivalent of 2 to 3 meals eaten at once. But that doesn't mean that I limit myself to, let's say, an hour or 30 minutes to eat that meal. I just sit down at night, like I sit down with my wife. We have a couple plates of food. In my case, it's usually like a double serving of the main dish would be some meat protein and some vegetables and some starches like some grains like rice. I will have a double serving of that, and then I will have another meal. Like I might make myself a big bowl of oatmeal, and then after that I might have a dessert. So whatever it takes, intermittent feasting, exactly, Uncle John, whatever it takes for me to get to those 3,000 plus calories that I require to function optimally, function my best the next day. And so yeah, I would say most days I finish eating within like 1.5 hours on most days. But on some days, it might take me up to 3, 4 hours to finish all my meals, specifically when I'm going out to eat. Then it's like harder for me to get all those calories in, like in a very short time frame. I might eat at like multiple restaurants. I might eat like a big meal with my wife at one restaurant and then go to another place, get another meal, and then I might even go out for some ice cream. So then just the walking around and all that and hanging out, it might take me 4 hours to complete the meal. But yeah, to answer your question, it's not like a strict meal, like, oh, I only have 20 minutes to finish this plate of food. And it's certainly not a plate of food. It is only limited to one plate of food when I'm doing my extremely low calorie days, which, like I told you, is once, twice, sometimes occasionally, up to 3 times a week, but never habitually. My default diet is always high calorie. And I recommend, regardless of your goal, whether that's fat loss or muscle gain or maximum physical and cognitive performance, your default diet should always be high calorie. For me, the number one sign that I get from my body that I'm not eating enough food is not that my performance in the gym goes down. It's not that my muscles disappear. It is my mental energy, my cognitive function the next day. I'm less motivated. I'm less energized. I am more tired mentally. My body, like physically, I can get away with murder. I could probably get away with eating 2 meals a week and could still perform at a higher rate than most people walking the earth. However, mentally, not so much. I get tired. I get tired too fast, and I have a lot of stuff to do, a lot of responsibility. So I cannot afford to undereat habitually, because then my brain just shuts down. It becomes slow. Same thing happens, brothers. Pay close attention when you chronically overeat. This is even worse. So when your energy intake chronically exceeds the maximum amount of food that your body can efficiently process and assimilate, your brain power will go down. You will become slower. You will become dumber. I've always experienced this when trying to bulk up, trying to gain size, trying to get bigger. I would eat so much that I would just become very slow mentally and become more tired. All this energy inside my body, I'd be more tired. So, bottom line is, you got to figure out how many calories to eat. Which brings us back to the original point of this video. It's not about the protein. First and foremost, you have to make sure you provide your body with enough energy, enough total calories to do the things that it must do physically, mentally, hormonally. Across the board, you want to fuel your body. You want to support your body. Give it what it needs to operate at 100% or as close to 100% as possible. It doesn't need these crazy intakes of protein to get the job done. I never derived any benefit from high protein diets personally. Never. So I'm telling you, experiment, but never fall into the trap of doing one of these very restrictive diets: carnivore, all meat diet, ketogenic diet, plant-based vegan diet. That's the worst by far. That to me is the worst by far, the vegan diet. Why am I saying this? Because it is inherently a micronutrient deficient diet. There's some micronutrients that you cannot find in plant foods. So you're either supplementing, swallowing a ton of pills every day to make up for your shitty nutrition, or you will suffer some malnutrition over time. It's just a matter of time. So also, I want to mention this. I told you guys I tried every conceivable diet. Every diet you've heard of at some point, Uncle Vic has tried it. And in my late 20s, I went through a period of being vegetarian and a short stint, a 2-month stint of being vegan. It was the worst I felt. The worst I felt in my life was during that 2-month stint. I had very volatile energy. Like, my energy levels throughout the day would go up and down like crazy, like crazy. I wasn't fasting during that experiment either, so I would have 3 proper vegan meals every day. I felt like trash. I felt like trash. My strength in the gym was at a low point, a low point. And my dick also stopped working properly. You heard me. Hormonally, I was at the lowest point, physically at the lowest point I've ever been in my life. So that's why I kind of have this personal grudge against the vegan diet as well. And please make no mistake, when I was starting this experiment, I already had 10 years of nutrition experience under my belt. So it wasn't like I didn't know what to eat on a vegan diet. So all I did was eat vegan cheeseburgers. No, those were healthy, quote unquote, healthy, balanced vegan meals. But it just did not sit well with me. It didn't work well for me. So yeah, Uncle John, that's some extra information for you there. um, your sexual function and sexual appetite is also a great indicator of not just your hormonal levels, but your health in general. So if you have very low libido, that's a red flag right there. That should make you wonder, don't I have like a bigger sexual appetite? You know, like if you have low confidence, also an indicator of low testosterone. Why am I so anxious around other people? Why can't I just speak my mind? Why can't I be who I want to be around other people? Could be low testosterone, could be nutritionally related, could be some other cause entirely. But why am I telling you all these things? Because your nutrition is a massive tool to regulating your hormones and your health. You can be training all day, all night. If your nutrition is not adequate, your body will, first of all, not recover from those workouts. Second of all, you're not going to build muscle. And third, you will not feel stronger. You will not get stronger. You will not look better. You will not perform better because you are spinning your wheels. Your body's not getting the adequate nutrition. You see what I'm saying? You got to figure out your nutrition. It's a huge part of your biology. On my Instagram, I just posted this morning that psychology follows biology. We love to talk about mental health. We love to talk about things like depression and anxiety. We love to talk about low or high sex drive, never really making the connection with our biological fitness. Are you biologically fit? Are you able to go a couple days without food? Are you able to do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of push-ups if necessary to survive, or the equivalent of push-ups? Are you able to fight off some crackheads if you need to protect yourself and your loved ones? Are you able to endure physical pain? Those are all indicators of healthy biology, biological fitness. And I'm mentioning that because when you're healthy, when you're biologically fit, you will be psychologically fit. You will not face these demons. You will not be fighting these same demons that you're fighting right now in an unhealthy state. You will not be fighting with anxiety constantly, with worry, with uncertainty. You will not be faced with this chronic lack of confidence. I don't believe you will. If you get to a certain level of health, a certain level of biological mastery, the psychological just falls into place naturally. So Lipschitz continuity. All right, he says, I had a similar experience with a vegan diet. Tried it for a month and stopped. Yeah, my brother, same here. It's terrible. Uncle John says, sounds like I'm very healthy. I'm sensing you're alluding to sexual appetite and performance. Good for you. Good for you, Uncle John, and good for your wife. Physical and mental health are two sides of the same coin. 100%. That's basically what I was trying to say. And then, yeah, that's what I was trying to say. You cannot have one without the other. So don't focus exclusively on one side of that coin, whether that's physical or whether that's mental, whether that's biological or whether that's psychological. You want to have both. But make no mistake, you cannot have a healthy mind without a healthy body. Guys, I got to let you go. I have a client call coming up. This was a pleasure. If you have any questions, reach out on Instagram or comment under this video. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.